video watchers. Can
Oh,
you
there
guys
we
hear me?
go. There we go. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now, man.
Okay, sweet. Um, well, good to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you too, man. All right, cool. So now we got 7 viewers right now. We got somebody that's asking us. Cardano is up 80% in the last 24 hours and is expected, let's see, would you say 500% in 1 month, still under 40 cents. So one of the biggest key things, I mean, right now, just kind of chiming in, this entire morning, I've been having people hit me up because a lot of people are starting to get smart. They're listening to our
Yeah,
advice and they're like, okay, we can't afford Bitcoin because it's $18,000. It just hit $19,000 for those of have not been paying attention, but it hit 19K
yes.
today. And we got, people are starting to get smarter. They're starting to go into coin market cap, and then they're starting to realize, okay, which ones are basically at the bottom of the list and starting to creep up? Which ones can I
Yeah.
afford, buy lots of? And then even if there's like 100%, meaning if you're buying them for 2 cents and it goes up 3 cents, if you bought $2,000 worth, you just make $3,000, $1,000 in profit in like 24 hours.
Okay, so one of the make sure to take profits. So it's my biggest mistake this past year is not taking profits where I get too afraid to pull the sell trigger when it does go up 100%, 200%, even 50% because I get afraid that I'm gonna miss out on the rest of the train ride. I lost a very significant amount alt season specifically, known to the crypto community, at its peak was mid late May to mid June, where you'd have to be a moron to not make money. So for those of you watching, those of you that are making a good amount of money for yourselves, make sure to take profit, be it in Bitcoin or be it in fiat, because a lot of these coins, as we know, it's all speculation, and with speculation, once the speculation stops, you don't want to be caught holding the bag and for the price to be going down because it will go down eventually. Best believe it will go down eventually. So take your profits.
Okay, now when you say take your profits, now are you talking about like selling off all of it, you mean like pull out all of it, or whatever you just profited in, just selling that portion, that margin of your profit?
The latter. It would depend on the type of investor you are. So, what do they call it? Risk tolerance. So, say, let's take an example. You buy something at 1 cent. You buy 100 coins at 1 cent. It raises by 100% to 2 cents. What you can do as an investor is sell 50% of your coins to take out your initial investment and then go play with other alts, leaving that other 50% as quote unquote free money and seeing where it goes. If it goes up another 100%, maybe take your profits again, and then leave the rest. Then who cares? You're then at that point you're playing with house money. So it depends on your risk tolerance. It also depends on your belief and your understanding of that coin's technology. So for an example, if you're Neo is a pretty good blockchain, supposed quote unquote Chinese Ethereum, whatever. If you believe in the blockchain, then perhaps your risk tolerance is like astronomical, where you don't really care. In fact, you most of your holdings are there, and you only buy the dip. You never sell. So it depends on your risk tolerance.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, that's really, really good. And just so the viewers know, he's you are in Canada, right? I see that in your profile. You said you're on entire Canada, so I want to make sure that people are understanding. There's a little bit of a delay, from obviously the moment that I say something and then he hears me. I think there's like a 2 to 3 second delay, so everybody bear with us. But okay, cool. So that's really, really good that you mentioned that, because I've had a lot of people been asking me like, yo, I'm making profit, but what do I do? Do I just keep holding? How can I take my profit to buy more other coins that are also increasing? Because it's kind of scary, as you mentioned, that like, what if I sell everything right now, like Litecoin, right? I bought Litecoin at like 80 something dollars a coin, and right now it's at 2 and some change. At some point it was at 390. I just left it. I didn't touch it. But what I should have probably done is taken my profits and then use that to go buy TRX, Tronics, or right now everybody's talking about Verge. And then somebody just a second ago also mentioned another one that Cardano, it's up 80% in the last 24 hours. I've been talking about Ripple, XRP, which now got added to the Bloomberg's ticker. And it's just been crazy what a lot of people are like, wait, these things are just like, a fraction of a dollar. They're, Ripple is at like 71 cents. I bought them at like 19 cents, right? So I've been kind of also scared, even though I know this stuff, I've also been scared. Like, what if I sell and then it just skyrockets? Like, damn, like I just missed out on so much more profit that I could have done. But like you said, don't be afraid to take profit, So thank you so much for that, because that kind of helps me know that, okay, I'm not going to be the only one taking this risk.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, if had I not been so emotional about not taking profits back in May, back in June, I would have significantly more money, more Bitcoins than I would have now, significantly. So the most logical thing to do from a logical perspective, once something goes 100%, simply take your initial investment out and then let the rest ride. That is literally the logical thing to do. What's not logical is to let you get your emotions involved. And I made this mistake, and I still make this mistake. So in my opinion, take your profits. Those of you watching, I would take your profits into Bitcoin. I wouldn't sell into fiat. Once you sell into fiat, right now, the IRS, for you American viewers, the IRS is classifying Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as a commodity right now. There are no specifics. So a lot of people are saying it's real estate. They don't want to classify it currency. They don't want to do that. So take your profits into Bitcoin. If you do take your profits into fiat, if you do sell into fiat, then you're going to get hit with the capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is approximately 25 to 35% depending on your income.
Nope. Yep. I'd like to totally, back that. I've been getting questions on that as well. Coinbase specifically has been hit by the IRS saying that if anybody is making over 20K, Coinbase themselves has to notify the IRS with that person that ends up basically making over $20,000 in profit. Or basically capital gains. And as you guys already know, the moment that you convert that over to US dollar, once, Uncle Sam, tax season comes around, you're going to have to pay that capital gains, which, like you said, it's anywhere from 25 to 35%, and they're casinos nowadays. If you go to a casino and you make a lot of money in gambling and you win, the casino themselves are going to tax you right there and then now. They're not going to wait for you to do the right thing. And that's been put in place. I don't know if for you Sacramento people, if you guys have gone to Thunder Valley, that's what's been happening here. It's like you go win money, they tax you right off the bat. And that's what the IRS is starting to try to do, is implement to where these companies like Coinbase, CEX, any US-based company, for them to automatically tax you from your gains, instead of you taking that money and maybe potentially reinvesting it to where maybe the tax break could be less for you if you're reinvesting that money back into, the economy. But for right now, it's still big. Like you said, keep it in Bitcoin. I completely second with what he said. I back that. Keep it in Bitcoin and then reinvest it somewhere else.
Yeah, another thing that I'm also trying to strategically do myself is perhaps form an entity such as I think Nevada or Wyoming. Once the IRS does come out with more concrete guidelines, which I suspect they will by this next tax season, they have to. They can't ignore this new asset class anymore. So once they do come with more concrete guidelines, then I think if you do hold a large amount of cryptocurrencies or this new asset class, One smart thing may be to form an entity in a friendly tax state such as Nevada or Wyoming. Those are two that I've heard. I haven't done much research, but of course, people following your live feeds. Once I do get something, I will be sure to share with everyone watching.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so now let's get into some Q&A to you. Okay, so first and foremost, yesterday I had a very successful class. Doing my Bitcoin 101 class. It was a packed house, but I was also able to leave with questions that I haven't asked myself either, and stuff that other people were asking themselves from a different point of view than I'm seeing this. Because I obviously see this from a certain point of view based on my knowledge and my information, and sometimes I don't ask all the questions that I'm supposed to. So I'm going to ask you some questions that I was asked yesterday that I didn't really have an answer to, and maybe you might. Regulations. Everybody says at one point is this stuff going to start getting regulated. Now we both know that it's decentralized, right? That it's all over the country and everything. But we have companies like Ripple, okay, that is technically a decentralized system because it's worldwide. You can't hack it from one location, but the entire Ripple system, though, that currency is controlled by one company, though, the inventors, the creators of it. So in a way, it's centralized and decentralized at the same time. And they can regulate, obviously, however that coin's going to be. But what do you think? I mean, what's your input on any type of regulations, anybody jumping in that is going to want to either A, control this, monopolize this, make money off of this by being... Give me your opinions. What have you seen? What have you heard?
Okay, tough question. Very important question as well. Regulations, trying to, okay, I'm just going to take Bitcoin as an example. Bitcoin itself cannot be regulated because it is 100% decentralized. I'd say Ripple is about 60–70% decentralized. Taking Bitcoin as an example, and I'll get to Ripple later. Taking Bitcoin as an example, there's no president, there's no CEO, there's no head honcho for the SEC to fine or for someone to go speak in front of Congress. There's no one. Okay, you cannot regulate a self-governing protocol, computer protocol. You cannot regulate or ban a peer-to-peer technology. You can't do it. But what you can do is you can regulate the on-ramps and the off-ramps, aka Coinbase, Bitrex, Gemini, Kraken. So the centralized institutions you can regulate. The on-ramps and off-ramps. Getting to Ripple, there's a head honcho. There's clearly a company behind them. If you wanted to go ahead and if the U.S. and the SEC wanted to go ahead and regulate Ripple, they can. They can just go to Ripple's office. They can walk into Ripple's office and say, "Hey, what's up?" Guess what? You can't do that with Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. So that's a very good point. Well, I mean, my take on Ripple, like you mentioned, and we had a nice little thing where I had mentioned it's like Ripple could be huge, right? And you said, Bitcoin, it's never going to be surpassed by any other system, and I completely agree with you on that. I mean, if you guys look at Ripple right now, Ripple is at 80 cents. And when I checked it this morning on CEX, and then, Bitcoin hit 19K. So obviously huge margin gap. But at the same time, there's a couple other things that people need to understand. Ripple's got a tremendous more amount of currency, of coins that are going to be in circulation compared to Bitcoin. So the supply and demand for both of those is going to be different. But at the same time, one of the biggest key things that I had to educate my, my class yesterday and viewers is that cryptocurrencies is not so much a currency, but it's also a protocol. It's the way that it's going to be handling money and the way that it exchanges money from one location to the other. Basically, the way that it will go from your wallet to the merchant, or merchant back to you, or bank to bank. And that's what Ripple is trying to capitalize on right now, is that they're going to be a cryptocurrency protocol that they're going to, in which way merchants talk to merchants and banks talk to banks, not so much the consumer, meaning if I want to exchange money to, to Kerati, how do you say your name, by the way?
Just karate. Just karate is fine.
All right, karate. Okay,
Uh,
so if I want to exchange money to karate, basically Ripple's not going to be the system I'm going to use to exchange money to him. It's more of a protocol that's designed for banks, hence why it's kind of centralized in a sense. But that's about it. So going back to, the different coins and everything like that. Right now, let's just your opinion. Obviously, we've been talking that all this stuff is speculation. Give me your opinion. If I was brand new and I came up to
yeah.
you and said, Karate, where do I start? Like, what's going on? What's hot? Give me a 30-second powwow to know where I need to get started at. Tell me.
Okay, so risk tolerance. If you're a daredevil, jump right into alts. If you're not, if you don't have much money to play around with, I'd say throw $50 into Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. Throw $50, maybe $100, and go with the ride. The number one most important thing everyone needs to do and understand is the technology behind all this shit. Excuse my language. The blockchain technology, Bitcoin in particular, is going to change the world. So right now we are in, it is a speculative asset. All these cryptocurrencies are speculative. There is without a doubt. What everyone needs to do is study the technology. Listen, we're in a short-term bubble. The bubble will burst sooner or later. You don't want to buy a shit. You don't want to buy a lot of Bitcoins and for this bubble to burst. What you can, I believe we'll see a steep correction sometime early January to mid January. If you are gonna jump in soon, go ahead with like 50 or $100, and then study for about a month. Just read up on the technology.
Okay, so you said bubble. That's the word that a lot of people don't like to hear because it scares people. This country, the United States, has been talking about a debt bubble for a very, very long time
Yes.
on our basically our monetary system. And I had to coach people yesterday first because the very first thing that I did yesterday in my class it was very simple. It was people asked me if I go and tell people, well, Bitcoin is the way of the future. Well, why is it better than the dollar? Okay, well, now I have to educate you on what the dollar is, what our U.S. currency is, how the Federal Reserve works, why it exists, and what mistakes they've done. And now where are we today, as a country, and what's the value of a dollar? So I had to educate people first on that and then explain to them why cryptocurrency came to be. So now you say that there's going to be a bubble or that there might be a bubble. Explain that. What are your thoughts behind this bubble thing? Because obviously people now don't want to invest if they think that it's just going to go away or it's going to bust.
Yeah, great point. I believe since last year, if we all go on Coinbase, I think Bitcoin's up, might be 1,200%. Unless there is extremely more money coming in, it's just this cannot be sustained. The level of growth. Don't get me wrong, I love Bitcoin. I have a passion for Bitcoin. If I can marry Bitcoins, I would. Facing the facts, facing the facts. Facing the facts. This level of growth cannot be sustained, in my opinion. It cannot be sustained. So it's not to worry or anything. Once it dips, I buy the dip. I load Coinbase, I load GDAX with my fiat, and I buy the dip. I buy the dip almost every time. I don't think I answered your question, but I hope I did. I agree with you 100% on the actual bubble, the biggest bubble, the debt bubble. So I agree with you 100%.
Okay, so basically you also believe in the debt bubble, but we're talking about the U.S. dollar debt bubble, right? Now, as far
Yeah.
as what do you think is going to happen for the cryptocurrency bubble though? Like what do you think there? You mentioned something there. Like, what are your thoughts? What does the bubble look like to you? Like, meaning if I'm invested in crypto, obviously I have Ripple, I have Litecoin, I have Bitcoin, I have a little bit of Ethereum now. I'm gonna jump in on Verge. I'm gonna jump in on a couple other. And by the way, anybody that's watching, please, we're not live. What you do, gentlemen, masterminding conversation. We're having you guys watch. Our own opinion. So going back, the bubble. What does that bubble look to you for cryptocurrency? You said that it's obviously going to have to, it's going to have to taper off, and it's just going to have to level out because the amount of growth at what it's happening, there's no way to sustain that. You're absolutely correct when it comes to that. We're talking about kids that bought Bitcoin, you know, that were 16, 17, 15 years old. Now they're like, you know, multimillionaires out of nowhere, and they didn't even know, right? So you say bubble. What does that look to you? What do you think the aftermath after this bubble happens? Do you think it's going to affect Bitcoin in general? Is it going to stop being what it is? Or do you think it's going to continue to get adapted?
Historically speaking, when Bitcoin makes these runs, the media loves to cheer on Bitcoin or report news on it. Once Bitcoin starts going down, and if and when a steep correction does occur, what the media likes to do is they like to say Bitcoin is dead. Um, historically speaking, there's the crypto macroeconomic cycle and the crypto microeconomic cycle. Allow me to explain. The crypto macroeconomic cycle has to do with Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is doing very well, alts, generally speaking, when Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, alts do not do as well. Generally speaking, when Bitcoin takes a steep correction, that's when some of the money flows into fiat, some of the money flows into alts. So it's not the Bitcoin the short-term bubble bursting is not necessarily catastrophic for the entire cryptocurrency asset class. The money is going to flow two ways. Once Bitcoin reaches euphoria and reaches its ultimate peak for this short-term cycle, the money flows two ways: into fiat for people to enjoy the earnings, into coins for people to chase more earnings.
Okay, say that last part again because I think our viewers and I myself, you kind of cut out there at the end. So that last like 15 seconds of what you were saying, repeat that.
Okay, so generally speaking, what happens when Bitcoin reaches its peak, when it starts going down, the money, the Bitcoins, they flow two ways. They either flow towards towards fiat, people take earnings towards fiat, or the capital flows towards alts. It goes two ways. That's what happens. That's why when Bitcoin starts to dip in price, that's exactly what's happening. Money is flowing out of Bitcoin, and there's only two ways: fiat and alts.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I completely agree with you. I mean, it's common sense and it's simplicity. Okay, Bitcoin's going down. Why? Well, because people are selling it. Okay, well, why are people selling it? Oh, because they're using to invest it. Okay, so cool. Good question. Somebody just asked, Victor Lee, what is fiat? What is fiat? Tell us, what is fiat?
Fiat. Fiat is our current monetary system whereby central banks print enormous amounts of money. Fiat is paper money, the cash you have. Fiat is backed by nothing but a government promise. And when that government promise goes bad, what are you gonna do?
Oh, true. Okay, yeah, that was the biggest. I think that was the biggest aha that you know happened yesterday in my class is when everybody realized that in the 1970s, you know, President Nixon severed ties from the gold and the silver standard to for our currency, for the United States currency, and a lot of people didn't know that. It's crazy. Out of a group of 10 people, you know, about 8 of them are going to tell me that the U.S. dollar is backed by gold, and that stopped being true in the 1970s. And this is people that were born way after the 1970s. So it was something that hasn't been taught to them. And then it's like, okay, so what is it backed by? It's backed by one word and one word only. It's called trust. And the day that people stop believing in the government, then people stop believing in the dollar, and then people start to look at other different ways of using currency. So there's been a bunch of different things. One of the biggest key things that a lot of people ask me, you know, for everybody that's watching, cryptocurrency is nothing new. Okay, Bitcoin is not the first digital currency or anything. Digital currency has been around for a very long time, and the biggest digital currency that there is right now is the United States dollar digital currency. The moment that we got online banking and that the bank started controlling everything through systems, it all started getting converted into digital currency. So every time you're paying with a credit card, online, everything, it's all digital currency. So cryptocurrency is not the first of digital currency or anything like that. And then second of all, there's just a tons of more education that people need to get when it comes to cryptocurrency instead of judging it and knocking on it. You guys got to really, really get informed on that. So thank you so much for asking for that fiat currency answer. It's basically a U.S. monetary dollar. Fiat currency, my U.S. bills. Okay, so now that you answered the bubble, it's going to taper. I agree with you. It's going to taper, and it's going to level out. And then eventually it's going to find its place where it's going to be a properly trade currency. Just like right now. If I take $1 and I go to Mexico, I get 17 pesos. It never really fluctuates a whole lot. It's always around there. I go take my dollar and I go get euro. It's always around the same margin. Not where $5 is going to get me 17 pesos and then tomorrow $1 is going to get me 17 pesos. It's not like that. But eventually Bitcoin's going to find its place in this world to where the exchange is always going to be the same. And I think that's what's happening right now. As more, Satoshi made a comment in this, he made a comment back when he came up with this stuff. He said, in 20 years, there's either going to be a large amount of Bitcoin or there's going to be zero Bitcoin. That was 18 years ago. 18 years ago, because Bitcoin was born in 2009 for some of you guys that don't know. So that was 18 years ago. Bitcoin is obviously making a tremendous impact. It's getting adapted. And like anything else, money, cars, clothes gets adopted. When the more people adopt it, the bigger it grows. What were you going to say? Go for it.
2009, I think it's 2017. I think it would be 8 years ago. Is it 8 years?
Oh yeah, 8 years ago. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying 18 years ago. Damn, I'm like way, my math is off. Anyways, we're at the halfway point. We're at the halfway point, and guess what? Halfway point, and look where we're at.
I'm terrible at math too. But just for the viewers, so January 3rd, 2009, the Genesis block of Bitcoin. When Satoshi Nakamoto, whether it's a he, whether it's a her, or a group of individuals, the Genesis block, the message was the London Times, the Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. That was the message when Satoshi Nakamoto forged the Genesis block, the beginning of Bitcoin. Clearly, this is an attempt to overthrow the current central banking system with the beginning of Bitcoin. That's a very good comment that you mentioned. So in 20 years, what did Satoshi say? There's either going to be a lot of Bitcoins or zero Bitcoins?
Or none. Yeah, it's either, he said in 20 years, there's either going to be a lot of Bitcoin or there's going to be none. And look where we're at. We're not even at the halfway marker, and look at the adaptation of where it's at. And I don't think anybody really foresaw what Bitcoin was going to do this rapidly. And I think that's kind of what also the problems that a lot of these exchange companies like Coinbase, CEX, Binance, Bittrex, Poloniex, all these companies that are bottlenecking right now with the amount of like inflow of people that are joining their systems and trying to purchase and everything is tremendous. Because I mean, one of the things that I'm not really liking right now, and this is funny, it's like I watched like documentaries from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is that they say that the exchange, the fees to being able to convert from, US dollar to Bitcoin was going to be as little as a penny. To exchange Bitcoin from one location to another was going to be as little as a penny. And right now, the fees are astronomically high for anybody that wants to convert. And that's kind of like, damn, is this even cool or not? So, but I mean, rest assured, for me, my understanding is once this stuff starts to taper off, it's going to go back to the primary principle of what Bitcoin was built on.
Yeah, I agree. I think what, to lead back to your initial point, I think what Satoshi Nakamoto meant in what that person or persons said was, listen, for those of you watching right now, Either this is black or white. Either Bitcoin succeeds or it fails. There is no in the middle with Bitcoin. If it fails, it goes to zero. But if it fucking succeeds, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon if it succeeds. And right now, with its 100% decentralized, most computationally secure network on Earth by a mile, hey, I'm placing my bets. I'm placing my bets.
No, yeah, absolutely correct. Here's the biggest key thing. Going back to basically now, I want to get into the currencies now. Now we've talked about our opinion, our perspective, our speculation on Bitcoin, where it's going, and all that other fun jazz. So, will central banks even allow Bitcoin? Aren't we talking or taking their fiat away from them? So here's the crazy thing. Now that's kind of what I was about to jump into. People are adapting to this. Once again, cryptocurrency isn't just a currency, but it's also a protocol. It's the way that you are exchanging money from one location to the other. That's what Ripple is doing. So I want to do a quick example, and please chime in, Kerati, if you have an input on this. But American Express, Citibank is already on board and partnered with Ripple, with XRP. The reason behind that is I'm going to show you the same example in a way that people can understand it and how you're using this stuff today. If you have an American Express credit card and you walk into a store and they don't accept American Express, guess what? You can't pay with your currency because that American Express is a currency. Now, it's in layman's terms, though, they're saying they're giving you $300 of credit or $1,000 credit on that credit card. But when it's talking to another American Express merchant, it's got its own type of communication system. Hence what Visa does, hence what MasterCard does, hence what Discover Card does as well. So what basically this cryptocurrency is starting to do is think of it this way. If you all of a sudden take whatever protocol American Express currently has and the way that it exchanges money from the credit card to the merchant, okay, basically what it's going to do, it's going to take that protocol and put in the cryptocurrency protocol so that the moment they're going to tell you, I'm going to give you $1,000 limit, US dollar basically converted to whatever the cryptocurrency is there. So whenever you're paying from one merchant to the other, it's going in as $25, but it's $25 worth of cryptocurrency to the other exchange. And the exchange rate is supposed to be instantaneously instead of using third-party banks where it's supposed to go from you to your bank to the other person's bank, and then but from that bank to the merchant. That's what cryptocurrency is completely doing away with, is this whole third-party transaction fee bullshit that a lot of people are getting mistaken. So will central banks even allow Bitcoin? They are going to adapt to Bitcoin. They're going to use the protocol on how they exchange money from one person to the other through Bitcoin. I believe that they're going to have to adapt because if you don't adapt, what happens? You die. You die. You can't stop innovation.
Yep. Yes, completely agree. They have to adapt. For the first time in a very, very long time, our central banks are finally seeing competition. For the first time in hundreds of years, they are finally seeing competition. So with this competition, they need to either get more transparent, like the blockchain, get faster, like the blockchain, or just stop being such scumbags. Stop being such scumbags. Jeez. Okay. Victor is asking a great question. Let's take China for an example. China, capital yuan control. They right now, back in September, mid-September, they officially stopped Chinese exchanges. Right now, there are no Chinese exchanges. Why? Because a shit ton of Chinese people are realizing the holy grail that Bitcoin is, and they are using it to secure their money. And the communist government, not to say that it's a bad thing, of China has completely banned Chinese exchanges. So there's no more yuan going into Bitcoin unless it's really peer-to-peer over the counter. Localbitcoins.com, by the way. I believe South Korea right now are also discussing. The government is also discussing with their central banks. Um, uh, we got to figure this out. Um, to put it short, to put it short, governments and central banks want to stay in control. What's gonna happen? I don't know, but it's gonna be crazy and it's gonna be wild. And I hope you're along for the ride.
Okay, so let me put this into perspective for some of you. How you say that they have to they have to adapt. Okay, so for some of you guys that maybe not don't like history, I'm going to tell you guys right now. The automobile. The automobile, when it was first invented, it was regulated greatly. Why? Because innovation scares the crap out of the wealthy people because it basically what is it the word? It scares the living crap out of their profits and their control. Because if all of a sudden what you are innovating could potentially create, tons more profit, more money or anything, and it completely, makes whatever they have obsolete, then it's crazy. So what do? Powerful people right now already control certain aspects of industries and also people's ears, their minds, people that how, for example, our government, who's invested into what senator, what senator is invested into what, and it's very easy for these people to have a very expensive lunch and then basically convince them on, hey, you should vote no, you should vote yes, we're going to present this bill, yada, yada, yada. When the automobile was invented, guess what? Lawmakers that were friends with the people that were making the carriages, that the business owners in the carriage business, that were making lots of money because that's what their business was. And then all of a sudden, here comes the automobile. So they tried to regulate the automobile laws quickly. You know how? For every automobile, you needed to have a co-pilot, and then you needed to have a flag person, and the car couldn't go over 4 miles per hour. That's nuts. So the dude had to have the car couldn't go over 4 miles an hour, and the guy with the flag had to be running in front of the car, flagging everybody, letting them know, like, look, hey, a car coming, everybody watch out. And look where we are today. We're at the brink of self-driving cars about to start happening. Okay, Tesla is trying to get this stuff pushed out as soon as possible, so we have self-driving cars out there. Okay, so you get where we're going with this. You can't stop innovation because sooner or later people, they don't have to be smart to realize that something is better than what was before. And that's what Bitcoin is starting to do right now. It's revolutionizing what is happening with the banking systems. It's waking people's eyes like, holy crap, I got to pay $100 to send money over to my family in Mexico, but if I use Bitcoin, it's in 2 seconds and it's only going to cost me like less than like 15 cents. What? I mean, you got to think about it. But
yeah, great analogy. Carriage to automobile, gas to electricity, printing press to the internet. Yeah, printing press to the internet, fiat money to Bitcoin. It boggles my mind that some of my friends still don't take the time to research. They don't. They it just boggles my mind. Like it would take you like 30 minutes to just dive in and say, hey, it just goes from there. We're only at the beginning, which is why it's so exciting. I was super excited to speak with you today, so thank you for having me here.
Of course.
I would actually be if your time allots, I would be down for, I don't know, every Saturday at noon or something like that. That'd be great to
Yeah, we could
keep it
totally
going.
do that. We could totally do some masterminding. We've had quite a good viewers coming in and out and everything, and we'll find out, the feedback on this later. But yeah, hey, so to kind of, I know that you got stuff going on. We've already been on here for about like 45 minutes or so. So let me ask you this. Let's get to the nitty gritty. People are wondering what altcoins. First of all, let's answer that question. What is altcoins? Why is it different than Bitcoin? And then what altcoins are hot right now that people should pay attention to? Based on our opinion, remember, don't hold us liable for what you invest in. We're just going based off what we would do. So what's altcoins and which ones are hot right now?
Very tough question. The second question. Altcoins, short for alternative coins. It's the slang or lingo that I believe came about sometime in 2010 or 2011. Basically, how it used to be, every other cryptocurrency besides Bitcoin is an altcoin, aka a shitcoin. Um, that's the lingo. That's the lingo then. That's the lingo now. In my opinion, I would make an argument that Ethereum and Litecoin, um, maybe it's a little bit with the Coinbase, but I don't think they're necessarily shit coins anymore. What I would look for those viewers listening, are really real world use. For an example, Moreno, XMR, uh, the only other altcoin, or really the only other coin to be used on the deep dark nets besides Bitcoin. That's real world use. A lot of these tokens right now, there's no applications. You can't really use them. It's just speculating. So if you do go for an altcoin with real world use, as in real world demand, then there's like, it's not really 100% speculating. It's still speculating, but it's not 100%. Other coins with real world use, I would say, there's Mona in Japan. The Japanese people are distinct in what they like, or they're very unique. They're a unique group of people. So they love Mona coin. It started out as a meme coin, and they're just in love with it. Um, what else? I don't really like. I To me, I stick. I 60% of my portfolio, disclaimer, 60% of my portfolio is Bitcoin. I've learned my lesson. Take your profits into Bitcoin. Um, I really can't share too many altcoins on, besides Moreno. I think Moreno has a good real world use for now.
Okay, so all right, so what about for the cryptocurrencies like Ripple that are being used not as a basically you're gonna walk in to a store and they're gonna say, hey, I accept Ripple, but what the application of that is going to be used. It's more of a system of how systems are going to communicate. So that's kind of where I'm starting to notice is that the protocol is not just designed for me and you to exchange money, but it's also for the way
Yeah,
that systems are going to exchange money from one another using the crypto protocol. And that's what I noticed about, Ripple that got my attention because of all the chatter. And not to mention, way before, when I heard of Ripple, and then a little bit over 48 hours ago, Bloomberg added Ripple, which came out of nowhere, into their ticker. Before it used to be just
jeez.
Bitcoin. Now on the Wall Street stock market ticker, it's Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Ripple now. So it's kind of like, what's going on here? And I mean, I know what they're trying to do with it, but it's like, is it really going to be applied? Obviously, their partnerships is crazy. I heard Uber jumped on board with them as well. So I'm noticing that it's not going to be like for me to go buy Ripple to get an Uber, but it's the way that when I pay
Yeah,
Uber and Uber pays their people, it's using that protocol so that the exchange rate
yeah,
is faster. So, I mean, input on that.
yeah. So you just jarred my memory. Thank you. So number one, I for alternative coins, I would go for real world use. Number two, the protocol level. Coins that are trying to be protocols, not just for an example, Ethereum is a protocol. It's a decentralized platform for developers to create decentralized applications. Ripple is a protocol, the gateway between the old banking system to potentially crypto, and of course, a protocol for central banks to make themselves better. What's an example that's not a protocol? I would say Cardano or ADA is a protocol. Um, what's an example? Shit.
Basically,
Uh,
everything else that they're trying to basically expect, everything that's not a
yeah,
protocol is all those tokens that expect that they're sooner or later going to be accepted at like 7-Eleven, or that you're going to be able to pay, at Target with that. And for me, I mean, I'm a huge believer because it's already being adapted. It's Bitcoin. Japan,
yeah,
Bitcoin is accepted everywhere. In Europe, Bitcoin is accepted everywhere as a form of payment.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I think is going to be the one that's going to get adapted. You know, even here in the United States, you can already use Bitcoin to buy Target gift cards and stuff like that.
Wow. No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. So, you know, and they rolled out that small little feature of being able to just simply buy gift cards. And that's basically it. That's all I think you can buy with Target is with Bitcoin, because it's a way that you can, for Christmas. You know what I mean? People are trial and erroring, you know, and it's slowly adapting this type of thing. But I feel like the other alternate coins, they have to have a purpose of what they're going to be used besides them thinking that they're going to
Absolutely.
be a payment you know, system. I think the crypto protocol of how it's exchanging money from one location to another is valuable, hence my belief in Ripple. But the other ones now, Verge, what do you think of Verge? I've you know, somebody said, you know, Verge just went up, skyrocketed this you know, in the last 24 hours, and I'm trying to look them up on what exactly they are, and I really don't see them trying to be anything different than Bitcoin. So what's all the what's all the speculation there?
Yeah. So, great pun. So a lot of, believe a couple of my friends are into Verge. What they're trying to do, I believe they are a privacy coin as well. So, you have a bunch of different privacy coins. You have Verge, you have Zcash, you have PIVX, you have Moreno. So it's a tough market. It's a tough market. I believe John McAfee about 2 or 3 days ago mentioned Verge on one of his tweets, so that might account for the speculation. Just
Well,
just
he's
keep in
having an
mind,
interview today. He's interviewing today with the CEO of Verge. So they're going to be doing a live
wow,
interview. So that's where people are like, people, buy Verge and hold on to your dear life. And see, when that type of stuff happens, is if you're a day trader, I feel like, okay, cool, yeah, go buy it, let it peak up a little bit, and what you said, take your profits and go.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
it. On
Please
to the
take your
next
profit.
one.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. Take your profits. Those of you listening, if you do have Verge by chance, or really anything that shoots up 100%, take your profits. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, there's gonna be more losers than winners. Not every coin can become a privacy coin. Just keep in mind the only other coin besides Bitcoin used in the dark nets is Moreno. Just keep that in mind. The race is not over. There's no winner yet, but just keep that in mind. If you are gonna speculate, take your profits, please.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and try to wrap this up real quick. Is there any last words you want to tell to the viewers? And then we're going to definitely try to do this every week on Saturdays if we get a chance, if times allows us, you know, to be able to link up. What last words? What could you, if you want anybody to take something from what they're watching from us today, what would you want that to be?
For those of you that are new, potentially don't know anything about Bitcoin, just research the technology. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to anyone. Research it for yourself. Formulate your own opinion. Just take the time to research. In my opinion, this is the next shit. Okay, this is the next thing. So just do your
Yeah.
research. Um, for you intermediates in altcoins that are watching, take your profits into Bitcoin. Make sure you get a hardware wallet, something to keep your coins safe. You don't want to store it on exchange. But otherwise, thank you for having me, sir, and I hope this becomes a regular Saturday thing.
I hope so too, man. It was awesome. I'm pretty sure that we'll probably eventually be able to be bringing on even more people into the conversation and really mastermind in front of everybody and kind of let them know what we're seeing. Because I get hit up every day, you know, bunch of messages all day long. And, you know, once again, thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. I think altogether, I think we already ended up having over 150, 200 viewers that keep coming in and out, in and out, in and out. So thank you, everybody, for your questions. Thank you so much, Kerati, for joining me today all the way from Canada. Once again, everybody, do your research. Do not hold us liable for what we're talking about today. We're simply here to mastermind, let you guys know what we're seeing, our opinion of things. At the end of the day, take Kerati's advice, my advice, learn it for yourself. If you have questions, I can only tell you what I know. That's about it. And then just keep staying tuned. All right. So with that said, thank you so much, Kerati, and hopefully next week.
All right. See you
Have
later.
a good one, everybody. Bye.
Have a good one.